Welcome to the first 30 days. Over the next 3 episodes, you will see a case study evaluation assessing an immigrant's first 30 days in America. Each episode will cover 3 sections: physical health, mental health, and social acculturation. Today, our topic surrounds physical health.
Hello everyone, my name is Natalia Marrin, and this is my show, The First 30 Days. Welcome to the first episode in this incredible 3-part series that examines the immigration process through both personal and research-based perspectives. As you can see, we're not in a traditional space. I'm not your traditional host, but we're going to be talking about immigration in a not traditional way, so it all makes sense. With this series, I wanted to create an understanding of the difficulty of this journey. Immigration research is often approached from a policy perspective and rarely focuses on the humans involved, thus dehumanizing the issues and generalizing the experience of all immigrants. Without the human angle of immigration, it allows for a lack of empathy to control every immigration conversation. Compassion should not be a limited resource, especially when discussing such a vulnerable community. Empathetic communication about sensitive topics like immigration and immigrants allows for understanding, reduces conflicts and misconceptions. I hope that you listen with an open mind and heart. So let's get started. This project was created because so often when talking about the immigration process, immigration research, reform, even casually over the dinner table, the people are forgotten. The actual immigrants themselves. And as a proud daughter of an immigrant, although I understand the complexities of this journey, I know that's not the case for everyone. The first 30 days is not just about standing in someone's shoes, but actually hearing what they hear, seeing what they see, and feeling what they feel, in efforts to bridge that gap in understanding. Therefore, we're going to be discussing this whole project through the lens of a case study, aka a made-up person. So this is our made-up person. Her name is Isabella. The basic facts are she's 21. She just immigrated from Guatemala on an asylum visa. She doesn't know anyone, and she speaks minimal English. But who really is Isabella? She's a middle child of a family full of sisters, a loyal daughter, a ballet dancer, an incredible performer, has an infectious laugh, and a kind heart. Of course, she's an immigrant, but first and foremost, she's a person. Within the first 30 days of immigrating to the US, Isabella will experience changes within her body, soul, and spirit. To begin, we will focus on her body and her physical health. We will evaluate her physical health in 2 segments. First, protecting yourself from potentially harmful situation, so insurance. Second, the impact the US healthcare system has on the Hispanic population. To set the stage, 1 in 5 immigrant adults are not insured. Therefore, Isabella will not have insurance, because even if she's trying to get insurance on day 1, there's a boatload of issues that might prevent her from obtaining insurance, like eligibility rules or even a fear of deportation. First on the list, though, are eligibility restrictions. Undocumented immigrants are ineligible for Medicaid and the Children's Health Insurance Program, also known as CHIP. Many qualified non-citizens, like green card holders, have a 5-year waiting period. This means they must wait 5 years after getting qualified immigration status before they can even get Medicaid or CHIP coverage. Of course, there are some exceptions, like for refugees or people on an asylum visa, like Isabella, that don't have to wait the 5 years. Yet, the Medicaid application processing system typically takes up to 45 days, which means for the first month and longer in the United States, most immigrants are without insurance. So what happens if Isabella gets hurt? The Emergency Medical Treatment and Active Labor Act requires that anyone is treated regardless of insurance. So through this act, it only guarantees immediate attention. It doesn't cover the following bills, leaving the patients to deal with the financial payments afterwards. That means within her first 30 days, if hurt, Isabella could be facing thousands of dollars in medical debt. The second segment surrounds what I'm choosing to call the Hispanic healthcare system. Anyone who's not a straight white male has a completely different experience when interacting with healthcare professionals. Systemic issues within the healthcare system are deep-rooted. A study within the American Journal of Public Health found that for Hispanic immigrants, the lack of federal healthcare services, minimal health literacy, poor public transportation, and a low knowledge of health services were all contributing factors to a negative mental and physical health. I was fortunate enough to speak with Dr. Katie Burkle, an associate professor in the College of Health Solutions at Arizona State University, regarding these health disparities that are facing the Hispanic community.
Could maybe you explain just a little bit about like what health disparities are and how they disproportionately impact kind of minority communities, specifically like the Hispanic community and stuff like that?
Yeah, what we see is like kind of across outcomes that there are these persistent patterns. And I think that the way our field has been set up is I think people were just looking at them in isolation, but have finally started to notice the connection that the same groups of people are disproportionately affected by kind of like all of the bad things, right, that we're trying to avoid. So I think with this recognition, so you see it across the board, you see it in mental health, you see it in physical health. And the fact that these are so consistent with the patterns that we see, so primarily affecting Latino communities, Black communities, Indigenous communities, has made people realize and has really shifted kind of the field from thinking about like individual level, like behaviors or risk and protective factors to more like systemic issues that are happening, and kind of seeing that there are drivers of these things. These things are kind of like the outward symptoms, but there are underlying drivers of that are influencing all of them across the board. And those drivers are primarily tied towards both like interpersonal and like systemic racism. And one of the challenges with like my field is, so I'm a prevention scientist, and one of the things we focus on is like developing programs that can support families in different stressful circumstances to prevent bad outcomes and promote good outcomes, right? So my field is about 40 years old. And in the beginning it was really just focused on like, can we make a difference? Like, can we impact kids by working with parents and promoting these protective mechanisms? And they studied them for like many generations, and they found like all the good things, right? Like, so a lot of them were originally focused on like mental health. They found better mental health, less substance use, less sexual risk behavior, better academic achievement, less contact with less delinquency and contact with the police, basically like every good thing. And then like they continue to study them and found like they have better relationships with their own family. Like they grow up and they have their own families. They have better relationships too. And it's great, but like then those programs sat on a shelf for like 30 years and no one had any access to them. And that just seems like a real like injustice to me, because those programs are, they're taxpayer funded. Like anything funded by NIH is funded by taxpayers, and that taxpayers don't get the benefit of that the American public doesn't get the benefit of those programs seems like a real problem to me. But
That's kind of like the essence of the project, talking about how kind of specifically in immigrants, how like your stress and your environment impact your body so much, and how it's even more heavily prevalent in immigrants that obviously have so much sensory overload within like their first days within the US.
Yeah, and
what's off of that
about immigrants, like first generation, is that I think there's this belief that like that it's like what's the word, that you come to America and things are going to get better, and and there's like not as much of a recognition of the challenges that people face here. And so I think there's something that sometimes we refer to as like the shock of like, at what point when you get here do you realize like, oh, this is not like the land of opportunity that I thought it was. I don't know if you have heard of Arlene Geronimus, but she has a very influential kind of framework that's it's called weathering, and it's basically how your body like internalizes these negative things that are happening to you, and it has like a physical impact on your health. And so there's like premature aging and just like higher allostatic load and all of these things. It's like and I think as people start to understand the biology of it, I think there's more like recognition that this is a real thing.
Yeah. No, definitely. That was a lot of information. Let's summarize what we've learned today and have our final check-in with Isabella. Having insurance is a privilege, one that many immigrants don't have and will never qualify for. Even if they're like Isabella and able to apply for Medicaid, it takes up to 45 days to receive benefits, leaving her exposed to all the health issues she could encounter. The Hispanic healthcare system is not kind to all immigrants, especially Hispanic women. Isabella will face language barriers, cultural differences, and discrimination, along with all the barriers to even getting into the doctor's office. In the first 30 days in the US, Isabella's physical health will go unprotected. From a lack of insurance to systemic issues within the healthcare industry, Isabella's first month will be filled with the fear of injury. Isabella shows us that immigration is not relocation. It's an incredibly powerful and transformative journey which makes America who we are. Immigrants built America at a great personal cost. Isabella's a part of that. I am a part of that. And you are a part of that story. You know an immigrant. Our friends are immigrants. Our parents are immigrants. I am the daughter of an immigrant. This title does not even begin to define this diverse group of people. Before you make a snap judgment about us, about who we are, I ask you to listen. Listen to our dreams, to our sueños.
My name is Valeria Cruz Betron, and I am an immigrant. My biggest dream professionally is to become a bilingual reporter, a writer for a publication covering immigration or the Hispanic community, or both. I didn't know I wanted to write about the Hispanic community till I moved here to Arizona, and I saw the impacts of the new administration on the community and how there are a lot of stories to be told from the Hispanic community. And being an immigrant myself, I see myself in a lot of these communities, but at the same time, we're all so different. So exploring these communities and how they interact with each other has been really cool so far, and I would like to do that professionally. I give my success to my parents. They picked up their lives and moved us here to the United States so we could get a better education and a better life. They've been really supportive of my coming here to Arizona. My dad and I have worked a lot financially to get me here financially, and I owe my education and my life to them.
That was the first 30 days. Make sure to watch our next episode surrounding mental health. I'm Natalia Marrin. Thank you so much for listening, and goodbye for now.